Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your weekly news recap. We are your hosts, Jacob Smith,
and Matt Morgans,
here to keep you up to speed on the week in the gaming industry so you can head into your next week fully updated. Matt, let's just jump right into it with some news about the GTA Online Casino update. This has been something that's been long awaited by fans of GTA Online, players who are still playing it, because yes, there is still a player base for GTA Online.
It
Still thriving, though I'm not a part of it. But the casino update has been met with a bit of controversy in several countries, 50 different countries to be precise, and that is no small feat. It's specifically because it violates, or at least these countries have deemed that it violates their gambling laws to some extent or another. It ranges from the majority of online gambling being illegal in the Czech Republic to just straight up being illegal for foreign visitors in places like, or only being legal for foreign visitors in places like Mali. So a bunch of different countries, all the way from Libya to South Korea, have banned this game. I would list them off, but it would take up too much time.
Yes.
But what's notable to me about this is that they've very quickly ruled that this casino update, which takes place inside an actual casino in the game, where players can spend their in-game currency just as they would in a casino to earn things like more money, experience points, RP, different items, things like that, which the players have been really enjoying, claiming is fair. I believe there are actually limits on how much real money you can spend in the casino, and yet these countries have been so quick to kind of denounce it. What's your take on that?
Well, I think in this case, this is kind of separate to the ongoing case around things like microtransactions, because in that case the discussion is this practice that's used in so many games considered on the same level as gambling? In this case, it seems more to be, rather than the DLC violating the specific laws in terms of, this DLC allows microtransaction purchases and things like that, which are deemed gambling, it's because it's showing the portrayal of gambling. It's because it features a casino prevalently, and because gambling or casinos or that kind of thing are illegal in those countries, the countries don't want to allow something to that's like a clear violation of that law.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like, because it takes place in a casino setting, despite the fact that people are not outright spending real money, and that there are indeed caps for real life, money spent from shark cards, which are, the in-game currency that you can buy. It seems like this has been a pretty clear ruling, and I wonder what it will take for countries, many countries on this list, to kind of see loot boxes and predatory microtransaction mechanics on the same scale as gambling.
Yeah, I think it's a more complicated transition. I think there's not a lot of outside of the gaming community at least, there isn't like an obvious association between things like loot boxes with gambling. That's a discussion that's really happened relatively recently, and it hasn't really left the gaming community yet. It's started to in some countries. We have seen a few countries, not very many, but some, start to ban things like loot boxes. But it's moving very slowly, and I imagine there's plenty of people in various governments all over the world who really don't know a lot about that particular topic. And when you're not paying really close attention to the gaming industry, a lot of stuff can happen without you kind of noticing. So pick any country on the list and look at their government and the people making decisions about this particular instance. I highly doubt any of them are experts in this particular issue of, are loot boxes considered gambling? I would assume most of them are more akin to people working on, like, kind of what the ESRB would do, determining age ratings and things like that.
Yeah,
and they're saying
it seems like
they're immediately seeing, oh, this DLC has a casino in it. It seems to be promoting gambling. Boom! It's in violation of our anti-gambling laws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it seems like they've approached this with a really straightforward mindset, and they're not going to be shaken. And it also feels like there's probably some sort of domino effect, right? Once so many countries saw, casino online, ban it. I'm sure a lot of other countries just followed suit because of that knee-jerk reaction. But hopefully we can see some reconsideration, especially regarding the ways that Rockstar and Take-Two have been so responsible in handling the way that people spend real-life money. But maybe the depiction of a casino in and of itself is just too much for these 50 countries. Who knows? That number might trickle down to a smaller one. But I want to jump right into an interesting story, and one that has kind of validated my love for video games since a kid, because people are winning some serious prize money off of esports, specifically at the Fortnite World Cup. Where 16-year-old Kyle Giersdorf, who goes by Booga in the Fortnite pro gaming circuit, he won $3 million for winning the first place at the Fortnite World Cup, specifically in the solos competition. Which is, I mean, he nearly doubled the second place. I think he actually did double the second place score and smashed every other competitor in that competition to win again $3 million. I mean,
that's no small amount of money.
No, I feel like this really speaks to the scale of esports and Fortnite as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. Fortnite certainly is very large, and any Fortnite, major Fortnite tournament is likely to have a pretty sizable prize pool. But certainly, it's not the only game in esports that is able to put up prize pools like that.
No,
there's plenty of others.
Yeah, the upcoming Dota tournament has actually recently surpassed the amount of money that it is offering in total prize pools. Surpassed the Fortnite World Cup, proving that even as big as Epic and Fortnite are, there can still be bigger in the world of esports. Yeah,
certainly. And we've got other games, League of Legends and things like that, who've been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. You've got a bit of a case with Fortnite where it hasn't been around as long, and there was a case of its sort of explosive rise to popularity. So it's maybe impressive that Fortnite's reached this position much sooner than a lot of other games. Mm-hmm. Most of the games like Dota and League of Legends, it took them a long time to get up to this level. They've had a really kind of slower growth in esports, which has lasted years. But probably if you compare that rate of growth to traditional athletic sports, I'm sure it's much faster than the average.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, especially with distribution platforms being such a key, a very crucial part in how esports function.
Absolutely.
But those games, like you mentioned, were kind of the building blocks of the industry of esports, the things that are really holding it together. And you have things like the Overwatch League and Fortnite just having an absolutely meteoric rise to fame. And I mean, if that's not proof enough, the Fortnite World Cup was offering a total of $30 million in prizes across three separate competitions, including the World Cup and the Fortnite Pro-Am, which players like Ninja have attended in the past. I mean, even second and fourth place in the solos event each took it home at least $1 million. Like the top five positions paid out over $5 million in total for that one competition alone. The last place in that competition took home $50,000.
Lord.
So even getting there, among the top 100, however many players in the world, is a huge feat in and of itself, and clearly it's being rewarded by the esports industry as a whole. So, do you think this is indicative of the esports industry getting bigger? Do you think this is just a single instance of growth, or do you think this is indicative of something larger?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a factor where Fortnite's involved. You know, where Fortnite's rapid rise to its current level has definitely meant that Epic Games has a lot of money to spend on things like this. So this isn't necessarily representative of every other esports tournament. There's plenty of esports tournaments that can't offer prize pools like that.
Certainly.
But it's also indicative that the esports industry is getting larger, and we are seeing more investment from companies that want to advertise and market through esports, and that, you know, gives companies much larger prize pools to be able to offer people. And, you know, in turn that attracts more people to compete in that game professionally, and grows the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here, how the dollars continue to climb, because surely this can only mean good things for esports and Fortnite as a whole.
Hopefully so.
Matt, let's have a discussion inside the broader discussion, as it were, a little discussion sublet around pre-order bonuses and extra content, because some recent comments from CDPR have surfaced, and when they stated that there will be no pre-order bonuses for Cyberpunk 2077, meaning that players who pre-order the game will get no exclusive content that is gated off to people who decided to purchase a day, a month, a week after launch. And no skins, no armor, no side quests, nothing. For people, no advantage for people who pre-order the game, which directly contrasts some other games and publishers in the industry.
I think Cyberpunk they have a standard edition and they have a collector's edition. To the best of my knowledge, the collector's edition doesn't have any extra in-game content.
No, it is the statue is, I believe, the big draw.
Physical things.
That's it. It's the two editions. Very clear, concise.
Clearly, they don't know what they're doing, and obviously, if you are buying a game, you want to specifically buy a game that is the third version of, you know, a game that's got 6 extra content packs, and really Gearbox is the company that understands this.
Oh, that's what I want. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely want to buy the Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition with Deluxe Bonus Content Pack, including the Retro Cosmetic Pack, Neon Cosmetic Pack, Gearbox Cosmetic Pack, Toy Box Weapon Pack, XP and Loot Drop Boost Mods, Pre-Order Bonus, which you get as well as the Gold Weapon Skins Pack. You also get the Season Pass with 4 campaign DLC packs, a bonus skin, trinket, and mod.
Oh, God, okay. Forgive me, I need a second. I'm going to take some ibuprofen, because that just that's a dizzying amount.
In sharp contrast to CD Projekt Red is Gearbox, who have just announced the details of what's included in their Deluxe Bonus Content Pack, which is available with both the Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe and regular Deluxe editions. There is also a standard edition and a collector's edition.
Of course. So is that 4 editions then?
That's 4 editions, and the season pass if you buy that separately.
So literally double the editions that Cyberpunk 2077 has, and a season pass right out of the gate.
Yeah. If it's unclear, the standard edition comes with the pre-order bonus, which is the Gold Weapon Skins Pack. Everything comes with that if you pre-order. So the Deluxe Edition comes with the Content Pack, which has another 4 sort of specific cosmetic packs that are all themed, and then some general boost mods. The Super Deluxe Edition is the pre-order bonus, the Deluxe Content Pack, and the Season Pass. And you can buy the Season Pass separately. The Standard Edition obviously doesn't come with the Season Pass. The Collector's Edition has the pre-order bonus, the Deluxe Bonus Content Pack, the Season Pass, plus a load of physical stuff. Character figurines, 4 keychains, a map of the game's universe, lithographs, and whatnot.
It's this exact thing that CD Projekt Red has directly said that they don't want to do. I mean, this is a deliberate attempt to kind of dizzy and confuse consumers into spending more money on things that they don't really need. I mean, we saw this with Red Dead 2. It had like 3-4 editions as well. This is Take-Two standard practice. I mean, we know that Strauss Zelnick has said that they're not monetizing their games well enough, and so why not start that gross monetization of your product, over monetization of your product right out of the gate. I mean, before the game is even launched.
They recently showed off what was in the deluxe bonus content pack, which, as I said, is 4 packs, and 3 of those are just skins. Mm-hmm. They're just different color palettes for in-game skins, and they have said that there's going to be an absolute ton of skins in the game. So, like, of those 3, it really doesn't seem like you get anything amazing. The last one is the Toy Box Weapon Pack. That does at least seem like it offers some content that's not just skins. Mm-hmm. But it's also unclear if any of the stuff in that... in the deluxe content pack will be available in-game anyway.
Well, I think that's a huge thing that we have to mark that you just said. It is unclear, right? Yeah. There are questions lingering. There's mystery about it. It is, again, deliberately misleading and unclear. Whereas I think we're making the comparison to CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk not only for CDPR's recent comments, but because this is a reflection on industry practice as a whole. Right, how do you build goodwill and trust amongst your consumer base? Do you deliberately mislead them into trying to spend more money on things that are, again, essentially just skins? Or are you going to be straight up with them, present them with 2 very clear, concise options with the base game and then the $250 special deluxe edition with the statue, and then that's it?
Speaking of price, I feel like I ought to mention... the standard game, Borderlands 3, is $59.99. If you go for the deluxe edition, which has the deluxe content pack, that's going to go up to $74.99. So it's not a ton more. If you are going to go for the super deluxe edition, so you're throwing in the season pass, that's then $89.99. The season pass... I would assume it's available. It's not listed on the 2K store, which is where everything else is listed. So it might be that it's not available for purchase until after the game comes out. Probably because they want to incentivize people to buy the Super Deluxe edition. Of
course, again, just another way they're trying to goat people into purchasing these absurd editions.
Yeah, indeed. And then the collector's edition. The collector's edition link appears to be broken on Borderlands 3's site, which isn't a great sign.
No, but I think this speaks volumes about how this is an American company, American publicly traded company doing a very American publicly traded company thing versus CD Projekt Red, who has the opportunity to break the mold and do something different. And obviously, fans prefer one over the other. I'll let you guess which one.
Yes. Oh, here we go. I pulled up a UK link. So you'd have to convert this into dollars. So I don't know exactly how much it would be, but in pounds at least, the Borderlands 3 Collector's Edition is £219.
Okay, I'll run a currency converter.
I feel like that's going to be close to $250.
It pretty much is. Dollar? Yeah, no, we're pretty much 1-to-1 on the value. I think close to it at the very least in the U.S. here. But again, I think obviously Gearbox, Take-Two, they're gonna make millions off of this. What I feel like is a sort of outright deception, and maybe I'm wrong in that, but it feels really shady,
It's
especially considering...
definitely, I think, being unclear about whether the stuff in the deluxe pack can actually be gotten in game, or whether it's actually exclusive if you buy the deluxe edition. That it's unclear if you're getting this content immediately that you could otherwise get later on, or whether you're getting it and it's content that is never going to be available in game.
Yeah, well, it's the thing. If you present the consumer with clear options, they're going to be able to inform themselves very well and determine what's best for them, or you can provide them with a smattering of options, dizzying, confuse them, and trick them into spending more money than they actually need to, or normally would under reasonable circumstances. So I think we can expect, again, to see more of this from Take-Two, but I think hopefully CD Projekt Red sets a precedent for the industry and companies and publishers, really, that's who it's up to, see how positively fans and critics respond to the way that CD Projekt Red is rolling out Cyberpunk and its two editions, right?
Yeah.
But that could potentially, that conversation can go on forever. We could fill an entire podcast with that. And kind of next up on the docket for us is interesting news regarding Fire Emblem Three Houses. And I say interesting because it really is a set of circumstances which kind of unprecedented as far as recent news goes, because Byleth, the protagonist in Fire Emblem Three Houses, is a mostly silent protagonist, but he has a few voice lines here and there at the end of combat when he levels up, basic Fire Emblem things. And voice actor Chris Niosi was the man behind Byleth, who's, again, rarely ever speaks, has a few lines which are mostly like 3 forward phrases. And with such a minor role and a fairly unknown voice actor, some past allegations of abuse from former friends and partners from years ago went unnoticed, largely by Nintendo, most likely, because, again, he wasn't a big actor. This controversy wasn't huge until his voice acting, his role as Byleth was announced, which came very late because Fire Emblem Three Houses was advertised very, very late in the West. People only found out about his casting literal days before the game's release. But as pretty much as soon as these allegations came to light, Niosi took to Tumblr to apologize and address the allegations directly, essentially admitting to all these allegations of abuse, or at least the very least most of them. And Nintendo has taken action pretty quickly and pretty deliberately. After fans noticed that his name had been removed from the credits of the mobile game Fire Emblem Heroes, Nintendo has confirmed through several direct statements through various outlets that they will indeed patch out his voice with another actor. So Matt, what do you think about this transition, and what do you think about the move specifically by Nintendo? The very quick move, might I add.
Well, it's a very interesting move, and probably a positive one from Nintendo. They certainly seem to be aware of the perception of their game by the audience. And if they're seen to, not change this when they could in this day and age, it might give the game a little bit of a bad name. Or certainly it might seem like they're not taking the set of circumstances seriously.
Yeah.
I'm certainly happy to see that they've taken quick and sort of clear action in this case.
As am I.
There was a somewhat recent case, not quite the same scenario, but similar, of, I forget the name of the game. We discussed it on a previous podcast.
Judgment, I believe you're looking for.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
Where they not only replaced the voice actor, but actually the in-game...
His likeness in-game, yeah.
Likeness, yeah. It's interesting to see more companies, because I think at the time when we discussed it, we said that it hadn't ever really been done before, but now that it had been, it'd be interesting to see if it ever did happen again. And it looks like we now have an instance where something very similar, where they don't need to replace the likeness because they didn't use it, but they are replacing someone's voice. And while people have while developers have switched voices out before, think back to something like Destiny when they switched voice actors from Peter Dinklage to, was it Nolan North?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. In this case, like with Judgment, it's because allegations came out against the actor, and the company had to change the voice actor for the game's image and so forth.
What's interesting...
So yeah, it's interesting to see it being done again.
What's interesting is that both the games that we mentioned are Japanese companies, and so this is
Very
like
true.
This is an interesting thing. Is like, granted, Chris Neosy was obviously the only the English voice actor, so it's not like his role really affected the game standing in Japan.
That's true.
But they clearly cared about the domestic audience here because they know that there is an audience for Fire Emblem. Although the games directors have voiced their kind of not concern, but their reasoning as to they don't really understand why the game is so big, which I think is funny, but or at least in the West. But I think this is a situation that Nintendo could have easily said, well, the game's already out. Like his role is so small, blah 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 blah. But
yeah.
they are taking the time and money because this will take time and money, even though, again, this is probably like a dozen, maybe a couple dozen lines in the entirety of the game. Like from Byleth beyond like just kind of grunts and just like winces and stuff like that. But they're doing it, and I think it's a good move. And even though from the response from the community that I've seen so far has been, well, Neosy already got paid. Boycotting the game would only hurt Nintendo and intelligent systems, and so they kind of had accepted it. His role was really small, but to see them going above and beyond like this is really encouraging, and it to me it sets an awesome precedent going forward. And I hope that more companies, especially as like you said, technology and patches are just becoming more and more capable of doing these things.
Certainly.
I hope we can see something like this implemented. If something so unfortunate, I suppose it's not a matter of if, when something unfortunate like this does indeed happen again in another game. But it's an interesting one. Kudos, big kudos to Nintendo for stepping up and again putting in the resources to make this happen. Matt, to round out the week really quickly, I know you got some really cool news regarding what Apex Legends is doing, what Respawn is doing in Apex Legends.
Yeah, it's not a huge story because we don't know too much about this yet. It's just been announced. But during their latest Reddit check-in, which they do fairly regularly to keep their fans up to date with what's going on in the game at the moment, Respawn let Apex Legends fans know that one of the things that they are at the moment looking into is the use of keyboard and mouse controls on console, which is a big issue for console players because there's seemed to be an advantage to be gained from using keyboard and mouse that gives people an unfair advantage over standard console controller users. And on today's consoles, it's not that difficult to get a keyboard and mouse working with it,
especially on the Xbox.
Yes, certainly. So now it seems like Respawn is actually working on a way to identify and track people who are using keyboard and mouse. Now, we don't know what they're planning to do with that. All that they've said is that they are investigating ways to address it. But certainly it might be interesting to see if they decide to do what they recently said they were planning to do with people who were found to be cheating or hacking, which was potentially like direct the matchmaking to matchmake those people together. So almost sort of create your own sort of artificial ecosystem of all the people who are using mouse and keyboard and just stick them all together so that they don't come into contact with controller users.
It might not be a bad idea.
Like that.
It's pretty smart.
I'm not sure if using a keyboard and mouse is a sort of is an offense that you could really ban someone from the game for. I don't know if it's explicitly said anywhere that that's sort of against the rules of the game. I suspect not.
It's a gray area for sure of like
definitely.
It's kind of not really cool of you to do that, but also it's not explicitly cheating because you are just playing the
Yeah.
game with a different controller ostensibly.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's being looked at now is mainly because they've launched the Apex Legends Ranked League.
Mm-hmm.
So, suddenly competitiveness in Apex Legends is starting to feel much more important because people actually have a goal to work towards. And if someone's able to get further up the ladder because they've got a keyboard and mouse rather than them being a more skillful player, then people are going to get annoyed by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so certainly the response from fans so far to this seems to have been very positive.
That's cool. I like the idea that they wouldn't just outright ban people for, again, just kind of using a different controller like that. That's ostensibly what it is. But that they would more so just kind of put them in their own little space, in their own little play space, so they can duke it out together. I mean, I know that at launch, Grand Theft Auto kind of worked through something similar where it put all the people who were like cheating and griefing, just like threw them in one server and just that was it, or like threw them in their own specific servers. So I think we've seen it work in the past, or like have some sort of timed ban on regular servers as a result of using a keyboard and mouse or cheats or something like that. But it's really cool, and as Apex expands, hopefully, so will these sort of these regulations, these creative regulations by Respawn. But that is going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to ask us any questions or give us any feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. But otherwise, I've been Jacob Smith.
And I'm Matt Morgans.
And we will see you next week.